Dude, have you seen all the buzz around Remnant 2? It was released back in July 2023, and people are still in love with this game. Its first DLC, The Awakened King, was released back in November 2023, with 2 more rounds of DLC planned for release sometime in 2024. The fanbase that loved the first game seems to have mostly moved over to the second game, and it's reviewing even better than the first game did. Being outside the fanbase and watching Gunfire Games' success with Remnant 2 made me want to jump in as well, since cooperative third-person shooters have always appealed to me. But first, I had some questions that others in my position might have. Is Remnant 2 just a touched-up version of Remnant From The Ashes? Do I need to play the first game in order to understand the second game? Technically, you don't. If we're talking about narrative, there are returning characters, but the story doesn't seem to be the main reason people play this game. But a lot of the Remnant community will still tell you, you should play the first Remnant, because it's just a damn good game. While it's easy to take one glance and write off Remnant as just another Lovecraftian post-apocalyptic game with guns from the 1950s, it's actually one of the greatest and most original co-op experiences I've played in a long time. My name's PoopBro420, and I'm here to explain to you why I think you should still play the first Remnant, even if it's already 5 years old. In Remnant From The Ashes, Earth has been taken over by a mysterious evil species called the Root. You are one of the last remaining humans, or you could even say, you're a remnant from the ashes of humans. The game starts with you creating your very own hero, and a montage of them sailing towards a lighthouse plays, while a narrator explains to you the current state of the world. Humanity is on its last leg, and you have been training your whole life to bring one last hope for the human race. You're told that the Root was brought to Earth by a great dragon, who was then slayed by a hero, who has since left and never returned. Your mission is to find out what happened to the hero that came before you, and stop the Root once and for all. At first glance, I thought this backstory of the lost hero was all just lore for Remnant's world, but the narrator is actually talking about the main character from Gunfire's first game, Kronos Before the Ashes. I don't want to talk too much about Kronos, but I had no idea that Remnant is actually a sequel, and some of the areas that you visit are from the previous game. Back to the story, your character crash lands on an island and is attacked by strange black creatures with red eyes. They almost kill you, but you get saved by a small group of survivors who are sheltering in a derelict bunker called Ward 13, which is going to serve as your hub world from this moment forward. After doing a mission where you learn to use guns, you get to choose your archetype, which lets you pick what style you think would appeal most to you. Do you think you're going to be at close range with that shotgun and sword in the other hand? Or do you think you're going to be a long-range sniper? Also, you could be a mid-range person, which is most of the guns in this game. When you eventually get a party of 3, you'll find that these different playstyles can complement each other in a lot of different ways. Next, you get to meet with the leader of this bunker, who explains that the only way out is by traveling through the World Stone, a magical floating crystal located in the center of this bunker. There's a lot of them all over the world, but not much is known about them, except that they can be used to teleport to other parts of the world, and right before the Root came, scientists of the old world performed a lot of experiments on them. They also restock your ammo and respawn all of the enemies in the area, so if you're a real-ass gamer, you understand this is Remnant's version of bonfires from Dark Souls. If you have any hope of stopping the Root, you need to make your way out of the bunker and into the monster-infested city. Now that you have access to the World Stone, you can join a group of up to 3 people, or go solo as you start your journey into Remnant's gameplay loop. You make your way through a city that hasn't seen civilization in a very long time. Monsters very similar to the ones that almost killed you at the beginning stand around on guard, while you search the area for consumable items and upgrade materials that can be used on your weapons and armor. Eventually you'll make it to a dungeon, and at the end of this dungeon, you'll fight a boss, who will drop a unique material that either gives you a new weapon or a new weapon mod, which is basically your weapon's special move. You can switch your weapon mods out for more powerful abilities as you find them along the way. I had a ton of fun experimenting with new weapons. My personal favorite mod, though, was easily the turrets that you could use. and I would get giddy like a schoolgirl every time I found a new armor. Ooh, let's see. Crafting table. Whoa.
Ooh.
Oh, that's what all this shit is for. I'm getting everything. Twisted cage. Let's go. Let's see. Leto's helmet. Really cool. I like the helmet. Leto's armor. What do you think?
Ooh,
Kinda
yeah.
Cool. Pretty cool.
Okay. All right.
Leto's legs.
The Juggernaut.
Yeah, dude, come on. After you defeat the boss, a new path is opened before you. In the city, you'll find yourself clearing up to 4 dungeons before you fight the big bad boss of Earth. Now, here's where things get a little interesting. Let's say you make it this far into the game, but a friend of yours picks up Remnant and you decide to join their game to help catch them up to where you are in the story. You may notice that things are not quite the same as they were before. Your friend's version of Earth has a different map layout, different enemies are there, and you run into a shopkeeper you didn't even see the first time. Even the bosses are completely different. Well, sometimes the bosses are completely different. The entire game has 38 potential bosses you might run into on your adventure, while completing the game's campaign has you fighting less than 10 of them. This is where the replayability of Remnant comes in. Since every campaign that you join has a huge pool of potential weapons you can earn, you're very incentivized to join other people's campaigns or have strangers join your campaign just so you can see the crazy weapons and armor sets that you haven't found yet.
I got a flamey sword.
Really? That's cool, dude. So you and your friend catch up to where you were in the story and defeat the main boss of the Earth, the World Boss. Once that happens, you're introduced to a mysterious interdimensional maze, or the Labyrinth as everyone seems to call it. This labyrinth isn't only here to look really cool, but it also links Earth to other dimensions. You step through another portal, but this time you enter a whole new world, Rom, the Sand Planet. You're immediately attacked by giant people who live in the sand. My favorite thing about this, though, is now when you beat the bosses of this world, you get sand people weapons, and they're way cooler than the earth weapons you were getting before. This continues until you defeat the Sand People's world boss and move on to another world, the Swamp Planet. Going through dungeons and killing bosses here does, you guessed it, reward you with Swamp People weapons. There's still a narrative going on, but I really didn't care at this point. I was having so much fun experimenting with new weapons from different worlds that it didn't matter to me. You're also leveling up your character this whole time. Every time you level up, you can invest points into traits. This can be anything from shortening your reload speed to increasing your health bar. Some of the bosses you kill even give you new types of traits that you can level up. And there doesn't seem to be a cap on your level either, so you can make your guy pretty beefy, though traits themselves do have a cap on them. You keep this up until finally the game's story is like, oh, right, you're supposed to be heading for that lighthouse. I won't spoil the ending, but it's not really an ending anyway because there's a DLC that continues the story, which I highly recommend playing because it gives you access to the frozen planet filled with frozen rat people. All of their weapons are my favorite by far. Most of them do things like slow down opponents or freeze them, and they're also the coolest in the game. Also, the level and dungeon design here is by far my favorite. And I don't know what it is about the bosses here, but they're all awesome. Maybe it's because they talk now.
Flash.
Weird. That one talks. I expected Remnants Online to be completely dead, but as of the recording of this video, it is not. And it's not just people that have already maxed out everything just beating all of the bosses for you. I mean, sometimes that happens, but a lot of the people that joined me were also just getting into Remnant. And the game is so regularly on sale that it is not hard to just put down like $30 and buy 3 copies of the game for you and 2 friends. Story only progresses for the host of the party, but everyone gets to keep a copy of anything picked up by the entire group. It's easy to look at Remnant and say, that's Dark Souls, but with guns. But my boy, it is so much more. There are a lot of similarities, sure, like opening a big locked door always feels more epic than it does in real life. Invincible rolling and stamina maintenance are a big factor of gameplay, and like Dark Souls, the boss fights are not so much a test to see how much you've leveled up your guns and traits, but more a test of how good are you at reading your opponent's attacks and dodging at the perfect time while using effective weapons for the situation. Remnant's bosses do range in difficulty, in my honest opinion. Some are way harder than others. In fact, the very first boss I came across, the Shroud, was such a difficulty spike for me, personally, that I came very close to rage quitting and hating Remnant for the rest of my life.
Don't do it.
Okay, I see it. There's like smoke on the ground before that happens. So we can. Oh God, he got me.
Dude, that was so bad.
Such a lame fight, in my opinion.
To the right. In like 2 seconds.
I really don't like what they think challenges. Like it's just like, oh, you need to upgrade more. Also, we haven't like gotten like any new weapons. Like I don't know when you get new weapons. Haven't found any armor. But nevertheless, I persisted. And when I finally beat that boss, it was an incredible feeling. Very similar to beating a boss in Dark Souls. Okay, so yes, Remnant from the Ashes is Dark Souls with guns. But it does more than enough with its unique approach to campaign design to become its own thing, while leaning on some of the pillars of action RPG design already established by other great games. Gunplay is very fun, and as always, the pursuit of the drip guides my blade. Its story is told cryptically through optional journal entries laying around the world and 1950s computers with pages and pages of scientific text logs. You can spend time reading all of that stuff if you want, but it never felt like I was missing out on too much when I skipped this stuff. Even when the final boss came out and I kinda knew who he was, sort of.
Subject 2923 may have gotten you this far, but you're on your own now. You think you're saving the world, don't you? You understand.
I'm pretty sure that's Clawbone. He's like the guy that got the root into Earth, basically. That's cool. Car's gone. In the end, I did learn a lot about Remnant's world and its characters that apparently come back in the second game, but if I'm being honest, I'm not that interested in them. What I'm really interested in is what will they do to improve the gameplay? What worlds will return, and what kind of enemies will they add? I'm more interested in seeing what bosses will return than what humans will return. Just looking at the gameplay of Remnant 2 after my time with the first game, I think I'm equipped to answer my question from earlier. Yes, Remnant 2 is a touched-up version of Remnant from the Ashes, with no real narrative baggage that would hold you back from just jumping directly into Remnant 2 and having a great time. But since they're so similar to each other, and they're both considered great games, there's no reason not to play both of them. Remnant from the Ashes still hits, and I think it's still worth you and a friend or two's time. Thanks for watching, and for the love of God, have a great day.